Welcome to the Expansion Now podcast. This is Dr. Saira.
I'm Texas Peek. And here we go. We're jumping into some kind of tricky water to navigate, right?
Mm-hmm.
We get asked a lot of questions about advanced consciousness therapy, about the book, The How. And what's interesting is sometimes the questions are actually they don't hit the mark somehow.
Right. The way the questions are asked are based in kind of standard understandings of personal growth and mental health and development and consciousness. But what we're finding is that the premise that we're bringing is so different
Right.
than what's been talked about before that sometimes we can't even answer the questions because the questions themselves are based on an incorrect premise
Or assumption, right?
or an assumption.
You know, it's like if maybe to use a metaphor, if you go to a mechanic and you want to, right, and you want to talk to him about how to prep a meal,
that's the wrong guy. You're asking the wrong guy.
you would ask the wrong questions.
Right.
So then, if what we're saying is a lot of the questions that are coming out of that very westernized and contracted state of looking at ourselves as that.
Right.
So then how do I solve this problem based in that?
Right.
And we're saying, okay, but we're not basing it in that. There's another option.
So when you say that, what do you mean?
Well, the mind is not all that we have. We have access to something else.
And up until now, we really elevated the mind.
Absolutely.
Right. And even certain therapies, certain interventions are all about understanding the mind, working with the mind, the different levels of the mind. But we're saying the mind is there to serve our intuitive mind. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that for people who haven't heard that word or that language before.
So
what is the intuitive mind, Texas?
Well, maybe it's best if we
Should I define it from the book?
You can look in the book, but I'm going to try. I'll give it a kick.
There's a glossary. This is the book. It's called The How. I'm holding it up here for those who are watching the video.
Don't hold it behind the microphone, Sarah.
Oh, holding it here for those who can see. And if you can't see, you can get it on Amazon. It's by Monique Peck, and it's called The How. And the intuitive mind is defined as the aspect of consciousness that perceives from a higher unified awareness beyond logical analysis, associated with inner knowing, direct insight, and access to the unified field.
Well, that's a mouthful.
And then the human mammal, which is what that is that we were talking about earlier, the thing that most of us think about when we think about ourselves is the human mammal. And the human mammal is defined as the instinctual, physiological aspect of being human, governed by survival mechanisms, nervous system responses, and learned adaptations, distinct from the intuitive or conscious self.
Okay. So if at some point over that reading, because that's a big mouthful, you kind of went, wow, that's a lot. Maybe it's easier to have an experience. So we've all had that inner knowing at some point. Guarantee you've had that, I'm not supposed to go in this place. And you didn't go in.
Something feels weird or wrong.
Or you did, and you went, I knew I shouldn't have.
I shouldn't have. And it could be something like not even that dramatic, right?
No.
It could be, I stood in this happens to me all the time at Costco, okay? Where I pick the line
She's
that
at
I think.
Costco a lot.
Well, I used to be at Costco a lot because where we used to live, Costco was a 5-minute drive. Now it's an hour drive. I'm not there as much. But the place, so back when I lived in Surrey, I'd go to Costco like for 1 or 2 items, right? Because I would go all the time. And I would always look for the shortest line. Right?
Sure.
And so like using my logical brain, I would say, okay, that's the shortest line. I'm going to go to that line. And almost every single time something would go wrong and I would end up, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, that person was in the other line that I didn't pick.
They're already through.
And they're already through. And why is that happening? And it gets so frustrated, right?
Right.
And it's like, because I was relying on my logic and my cognitive reasoning to make decisions for everything. Now I'm relying on much more than that.
Okay.
And so sometimes the line is long, sometimes it's not long, but I'm not so worked up all the time.
There you go.
I'm not so worked up all the time.
Her husband Faizan's very happy about this.
Yeah.
But we've had those things. So all we're saying is there another option to this experience that we're having? Right? Do I have to struggle? Do I have to try to make sense of every piece of every detail of everything that's ever happened to me
And
and to understand it and pull it apart. And we're saying in that higher state of consciousness, whatever you need will be shown to you. I know that sounds really ethereal, but and one of the things that we're noticing as we take people through this is, because this is not, a lot of people have done this work. People who are listening to these podcasts, a lot of them are not brand new to this concept. We had a conversation this morning that when you're in that aligned state, listening to your intuitive guidance, and we'll get into how you get there, but the ordinary can become extraordinary. So there's less of this peak
experience
stuff. Doesn't need to be there all the time.
So this is something that's a bit maybe controversial, right? Yes.
On this podcast?
Controversial. Because in the consciousness space, there is a bit of chasing, I would say, after peak experiences.
I would say there's a lot. I'm just going to call it out. There's a lot of
So I want to go do a drum circle, and in the drum circle, I feel like at one with the music and
that's
with
legit.
my body, and then the following weekend, I'm going to go do a sound bowl healing meditation, and then I'm going to go to this silent retreat for 10 days, and then I'm going to try this new fast where I'm doing this juicing, and like there's all of these like things that I'm doing so that I can have some sort of a mystical, out of body, altered experience. And maybe I even get that experience.
Oh, yeah, almost
right?
for sure.
But then I have to go back into my mundane life.
And
my mundane, regular life feels fucking boring.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've had these really expansive experiences. And so my day to day is kind of hard to return to.
Right. And then we also then would go, I can't wait to go to
the next thing.
To the next thing. So what we're proposing is that if being in an aligned state is actually our natural way of being, right?
There's something about that in the book. Let me see if I can find it. I know. I'm going to always interrupt you with the book quotes.
You just always interrupt me. And I lose my train of thought, really. So this could be kind of a mess for you guys listening out there. But when we're in that aligned state, we're more at rest in the ordinary. We have a better nervous system regulation, and we can interact with the people and the things in our lives in a very different way. Segue to the book. I did that nicely.
Thank you. So page 104 in the book, it says, in alignment, you're no longer cut off from this field. You're in conversation with it. Your mind is quiet enough to receive. Your body is safe enough to follow the pull. Your presence is clear enough to recognize that what once looked like randomness is guidance. This is where life begins to feel magical, not because everything becomes easy, but because you start to feel supported. You realize you're not the only one steering the ship. You're co-creating, listening, responding, trusting. And just as your inner state begins to shift, softening, opening, expanding, your outer world reflects that transformation. Not instantly, not always predictably, but undeniably. The right people appear. The next step lights up. The impossible becomes possible. These are what some might call miracles. Not the suspension of reality, but the realignment of reality with who you truly are.
Yeah, right.
Like this is what, and we are talking about this not because we have some theory about it, but because we're living it. We're actually living this way, and we're building a community of folks who are living this way. And not because they're hopping from one peak experience to the next, but because the day-to-day of their life feels, it feels natural, it's flowing, it's aligned, it's open. Now, maybe we can talk about alignment and misalignment.
Before we do that,
yeah.
One of the things that when you just said that, I could feel an objection potentially coming
Objection, Your Honor.
But we're the premise of all of everything that you're going to hear on this podcast is that you have sovereign agency. You have the ability to choose your experience, right?
Your inner experience.
Your inner experience. So otherwise, this gets really sticky. right? So one of the things that we talk a lot about is you don't have to do this. You don't have to do any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. You could just continue doing what you've always done, and it would
It's
be
okay.
okay.
It's okay.
And that's a valid choice.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And so I think it's really important because everything hinges off of that. Because when you do this work, which is what the book is called, The How, is how do we get from this contracted state of reactionary living
Mm-hmm.
to a more aligned state?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first thing we have to do is know that it's possible and it's our choice whether we want to do it or not.
Right.
That's the first thing, to realize that you have agency over how you're going to live and how you're going to perceive your own consciousness.
You get to choose.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be like guilted into it or shamed into it or
Oh, no.
or like coaxed into. When you're ready, if you're ready for this new way of being, the signs will already have been showing up before you even heard this podcast.
Absolutely.
Right? This will not be your first touch point, most likely.
Yeah.
Maybe it will
maybe,
be, but unlikely. Likely you've already had the whisperings in your life saying, there's got to be another way. I've tried a lot of things, and some of them work, some of them really don't work. And even the things that do work don't seem to work all of the time. And they don't last, and they're not predictable. Like sometimes I stumble in to this feeling really good feeling, but most of the time I'm just searching for that.
Yeah. So what we're saying is the first step is knowing that you can choose. And the second step is we believe that in this, that there's basically only two states of being. One is in alignment and one is in contraction.
Or misalignment.
Yeah. Right. So once we kind of get our head around that and our heart around that, we can go, okay, so now how do I make this happen? Right. And there's going to be resistance and there's going to be pushback because we have all of this momentum going the way we've always done things.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing the things that we're doing because it makes us feel safe, protected, valid. So when we say, okay, perhaps that's not all there is.
Maybe safety isn't the ultimate goal of living a rich and full life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when I kind of wrestled with that, it was a wrestling with that idea, right? That could my life be more than just about safety?
Mm-hmm.
Because so much of my life had been unsafe. And so I had and created all of these unconscious coping mechanisms to manage,
right.
to create kind of a predictable environment where I was around people who I felt like I could trust. I didn't actually engage with people who were too difficult. So I'd created all of these like boundaries and barriers to keep myself safe. Also, I didn't feel like I was really thriving, right? I was getting through and I was even maybe achieving or successful, but internally something was off. Something was not quite clicked in with me.
Right. So when we started to do the work, we talked about this. It was difficult.
Mm-hmm. It was uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, it's not difficult, but it's not like a choice we make once.
Well, and there's one big part of it, Texas, where there was this, because the ego is so tricky, right? The mind, that contracted mind can be so tricky, because then once I started getting really into it and practicing the presence protocol on a regular basis, then the mind started telling me, oh, everything you've done up until now was wrong.
Right.
So that was the angle. Yeah, so then it was like that was the way to bring on the shame and the guilt and the feeling bad about myself. Right. It's like, oh, see, if you had, now you know this, but look at all the things you did wrong in the past, like with your parenting and with your career, and like you could have, see, and so that self-criticism just took another form.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's another kind of cautionary piece, is as you're stepping in, if this is something that's calling you, this concept of alignment and misalignment, that the thing that was supposed to keep us safe has become really, really convincing that we need it. And just beware that some of those questions, what do you even call it? Like,
it's resistance. Yeah. Energetically, it's resistance, right? And one of the things that some of these concepts are hard to articulate, but when we have a lot of resistance, and that could show up as all kinds of different things, right? It could show up as comes out of trauma. It comes out of like
So it can show up as controlling behaviors. It can show up as
right.
hypervigilance. It can show up as people pleasing.
All of those,
actually, right? Like all these tricky things that we do to not have to feel unsafe.
But they have an energetic signature. All of those things. So what we're saying is, as you move through them, you are liberating energy that you didn't know you had to use in a different way, to help you in a different way, right? So it's a big topic, right?
So let's talk about the question that we got.
Okay, what was the question we got?
The question we got was, so we run something called a mentorship circle. It's an 8-week program that people opt into. And we take people on a journey through the book and through the concepts in the book so that they can have a real lived experience of the change.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah. So in the mentorship circle, one of the questions that came up was this. What do I need to learn to find my authentic self? What else do I need to learn to find my authentic self? That was the question.
And what we found with that, because we sat with that, and it's like, okay, was that I think the question's flawed.
Right. So there's 2 parts of the question that actually don't make sense when you use this framework of alignment and misalignment.
So the first part is, what do I have to learn?
What do I have to learn?
So maybe a better way would be, what do I have to unlearn?
Exactly.
Right? Because this doesn't need more. This needs more.
Right. The mind doesn't need more. It's what the heart and the body and the experiential. Is what, you have to speak it. Remember, it's a podcast. Some people are only listening.
Oh, sorry. So I'm touching my heart. Shock. We're not literally my heart, because that would be gross.
That would be gross.
But my
chest,
my chest, and saying, listen, we believe and know and have had lots of evidence of this, that you already know. You already know who you are. Makes sense. But there's stuff in the way. And as we remove those things, as we on our consciousness journey, we're building relationship with our consciousness, and that is going to shed light on why I'm struggling to do that. Right? So it's like we've changed lanes, and now we're looking over at the other lane of our life and going, okay, and now I can started to get some insight,
perspective,
wisdom into how do I continue this journey.
Right.
So that's the first part of the question.
So then the second flawed premise is to find my authentic self. To find. So then was it lost? Was it hidden? Like what?
Right.
And we're saying is the authentic self exists in the aligned state only. When we're in contraction, when we're in self-protection, when we're defended, when we have our walls and our barriers up, we're actually not in touch with our authentic self.
Okay, so let that
land.
And that's it can feel really uncomfortable. Because if your illusion is so strong that that's all you know, it's going to push back and go, well, what do you mean I don't know who I am?
Right.
Okay. I can remember when I first started doing this work, somebody told me that I had agency over my emotions, which is part of what I thought my authentic self was.
Okay, can you be more specific?
Yeah, so I was working with someone, and they had an early version of the presence protocol. We'll call it that. And I can remember this person telling me that I could choose a different emotion in the midst of the crisis. And
you were like, that's bullshit.
I was way even stronger than that, because I said, when I'm mad, I'm mad. I'm mad because of this thing.
Right.
That's my only experience. So but I was kind of really mad one day, in a really kind of desperate place. So I thought, what the hell, I'll give this a try. So I did basically the presence protocol, and I came out on the other side of it, and it was like, okay, so what was I so mad about? I couldn't even touch it.
So you got some space from it.
You got some
space
realized,
from it. Like, oh, that's not me.
Yeah.
That anger is not me.
And then I had some clarity around the situation and moved through it. The problem with that is, here's the rub. If that's true, then I'm responsible for where I am.
So if I'm raging, that's a choice.
Yeah. Or if I'm disconnected, that's a choice.
Right. And in the middle of it, it often doesn't feel like a choice.
Right.
It often, and often because it's a nervous system, like it's a full body response
Right.
that's automatic, that's not a conscious choice.
Right.
And so part of what the presence protocol helps us with is calm down the nervous system
First.
Right. The breath part of the presence protocol actually is targeted to settle the nervous system really quickly so that you're back online. You're not
for those
totally
of you who are
checked out.
listening who don't know what the presence protocol is, we can do that in another podcast, but it's in the book. It's on our other, we talk about it on our other
so we'll have to like dedicate an episode. Maybe we'll get Monique to speak to that in one of her episodes.
I guess so she could.
So sometimes on this podcast, you may hear from the other two of our 4 co-founders. So it's Texas, myself, and then my husband Faizan and Texas's wife Monique. So the 4 of us are the founders of the Expansion Project, and you will hear our voices and maybe other voices on this podcast.
So, but we have, and you know, it took years of research and for Monique to hone this down to something that we could carry around in our pocket.
Right. Something that's teachable, repeatable, predictable, based in science, actually based in how the brain works, not like and
the body and the nervous system.
Our wish list of how we wish we would be, but actually how we physiologically are.
And I think one of the things that we know that it makes sense on a deep level, because the presence protocol takes us to an unpredictable place sometimes.
Because sometimes we haven't been there before.
Right.
Yeah.
So so like anything else, when we step into something new,
it's awkward.
And sometimes we don't want to do it. I don't know about you, but sometimes I don't know.
I don't know what that's going to be.
Yeah, I'm
enter a dark room.
Yeah.
Where I don't know what's in that room.
Yeah. So presence protocol is a big part of what we teach. The idea with the presence protocol is it can help you to, first of all, settle the nervous system, and then open up the pathway into consciousness.
Right.
I like that.
Pretty good.
Not bad, right?
Yeah. Well, before we even settle the nervous system, we're noticing what's there.
Yeah, right.
So that's another thing that's often missing in other approaches is the acknowledgement of what's there. We're not trying to bypass it. We're not trying to like Pollyanna it away.
No,
we're not trying to put on rose-colored glasses and say, "Oh, I'm a being of love and light." No, actually, sometimes I'm pretty pissed off, or sometimes I'm really activated for some reason.
We're just not trying not to judge that.
Yeah,
or noticing it,
or pick it apart.
Yeah.
Right, and cognitively understand it.
Because if we're having those reactions, we are in, and again, the book does a good job of this, but we are in a contracted state. We're in a misaligned state. So from that, anything that we examine while we're in that state is going to feed more of that state.
Right.
Because that's where we've always been.
Yeah.
So the basic premise is first we need to get ourselves out of that state, into flow, into a place of understanding from a higher level.
Right.
And then when we have a look at it, it looks different, and we can learn from it. Right.
It's almost like trying to, like the image that's coming as you say that, Texas, it's almost like trying to figure out what shirt you're going to wear, but the lights are off.
Yeah.
So you don't know if it's a red shirt or a green shirt. It's like you got to turn the light on first.
Right.
You got to switch switch the state, and then you can make a decision about what to do next.
Exactly.
But in the dark, you're kind of in the dark, and you're just like, oh, maybe this will do, but you're not actually making an informed choice because we're not accessing all the information that's available to us.
Exactly. So if any of this is kind of landing, come back and listen again.
Yeah, so we have lots of episodes in the podcast. We also have a YouTube channel, also called Expansion Now, so you can check that out.
Check out the book.
Check out the book, The How, on Amazon, and our website has like all the different stuff that we're doing
and it's being upgraded right now too. It's always a constant.
It's always evolving,
yes.
The website. So check that out. And if you want to stay in touch with us and kind of get that weekly dose of connection, join our newsletter. It's free. You can get to it through our website, and that's another way to stay in touch.
And where would they ask if they listen to this? Go, I don't understand what they said. And
send us a question on the website. There's like a contact form on there.
Yeah.
You can just send us a question, and we're happy to continue the conversation. Make another episode based on your question. So back to our original question of this episode: how do I? What was it? Something
it's your
about
job.
Authentic.
See how she does that? She puts it right back on me, and it's like she brought the question.
What do I need to learn? What do I need to learn in order to find my authentic self?
Okay.
And so the answer to that question would be, well, the question is, we would re-ask the question in a different way.
Right.
So how would we ask the question?
I would like to say that we need to get rid of the first part of the question completely.
What do I need to learn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because so if I already know it, what
do I need to remember?
Yeah.
Right. What do I need to remember to get back into alignment?
Yes.
Because as soon as I'm back in alignment, I'm in my authentic self.
There you go.
Right. So I don't need to find it or go hunting for it or dig it out. It's available. Now, one of the other huge tenets is that we were designed this way.
Mm-hmm.
So alignment is actually our natural state, and everything else is an adaptation. Everything else is something that we've developed over the years to keep ourselves safe.
Yeah.
So this is not becoming something, somewhere you've never been before. Monique often says this is not a new door, right?
Yeah.
It's just a predictable pathway back to the same door that you've been through before.
Right.
It's a predictable pathway back to the same door you've been through before. And you know this experience. You know what it's like to where everything just feels a bit easy and kind of connected, and it's like those moments of like, oh yeah, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
And then it dissipates, and we don't know how we got there, and we don't know how we got out.
Right.
So we're saying we can help with that.
So join our community, join our newsletter, keep watching these episodes, send us your questions, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.